hype levels through the roof. 2-week wait, One Piece chapter 981 comes at us, and a lot of stuff happens in this chapter that makes me so damn happy. I'm just literally a lot happens in not a lot happens in this chapter that sets even more stuff up and gives us an amazing moment at the end, which I am all for, and I was waiting for that surprise moment throughout this ever since this part of the arc started. So let's just get started. So sorry, I'm just really excited because this was a freaking amazing chapter. Oda's been knocking it out of the park with every single chapter he's been making for ever since Act 3 started and ever since the Odin flashback ended. So I'm just gonna keep my hype levels as high as possible and try and go into as much detail as I possibly can for this review. And my God, was this a good one. So we continue from last time where Kid manages to deal a strong hit with his little magnetic iron fist against Apu. We see him injured, but he's not, he's not dead. He's not down because the worst generation pirates are some of the strongest pirates in this generation. So it is implied that even though Kid got a sneak attack on him, Apu wouldn't have taken him down. Kid wouldn't have taken down Apu. So we go through this, and Kid pretty much confronts Apu, basically, essentially being like, he should have figured Apu would have been a scummy informant because he was too, and let me go with the phrase here, he was too on board with the idea of their alliance, which does say a lot because, I mean, if that was something that if you knew, someone knew how Apu acted, then that would help entail that the possibility of him betraying you is a thing. So Apu ends up seemingly getting into Kid's head because he's like, do you really think that an alliance like ours could have done anything to affect this age? To freaking take on one of the 4 emperors of the sea and actually win? Wake up, man. Wake up. I mean, it doesn't say it like that, but basically says like to wake up. It's, for, dreams and stuff like that. So this does kind of give us a bit of a look into how Apu views things. Because he doesn't exactly see the point of fighting a seemingly unbeatable opponent, and sees how Luffy and Kid forming and their ideas to take down Kaido or any of the emperors as insane and impossible. So this does kind of give us an idea of how Apu thinks. Unlike like Luffy or Kid, who are always gung-ho and will charge towards their goals, Apu seems to be more realistic in a sense, but also the fact that he can most likely have did this out of fear. I mean, obviously, if you had to go face to face with freaking Kaido, with one of the Beast Pirates, you're like, okay, this guy seems to not have been dealt any fatal blows. Screw it, let's join him. So essentially, this does kind of give us an idea of like Apu not seeing being part of an alliance to take on some crazy opponents. So one thing that comes to mind is, how did Apu get this sort of mentality? Did he experience something similarly before the time skip happened, or has he always just gone along with the flow, or was he always a part of Kaido's alliance? That's something I'm not too invested in that, but I'm like, I feel like it would be a bit of a loose end if we didn't confirm, at least from like a one-off line. We don't have to give it an entire chapter or two to Apu's backstory. I don't think anyone wants anything to do with a real backstory for Apu. No one really likes Apu. Anyway, so from this, Apu has pretty much gotten into Kid's head, and Kid is still pissed off. But he manages to get a sneak attack and do a slash attack against Kid. So Luffy shows up and ends up Luffy, Zoro, and Killer end up convincing Kid to get out of there and go straight back into the castle. So since they're already causing a scene and everything. And as this is going on, Luffy's blaming Kid for causing a scene. Zoro is telling Luffy that he's the last person to put the blame on someone else. Kid chimes in and being like, "You're one to talk, Roanoa." And Killer's like in his stocks, doesn't even say this out loud. these guys are idiots. You're just like idiots. So it kind of stands to reason. Honestly, throughout this chapter, whenever Killer speaks, he doesn't laugh. Remember, when we first got Killer, and revealing that he ate a failed smile fruit, he did laugh nonstop. And when the raid started, he didn't laugh. He didn't really laugh much at all. But in this chapter, he's not laughing at all. So is it possible that he just managed to start controlling his laughter, but he still has the pleasure's constant smile? That's something I am curious about. But anyway, as they're running away, Apu tries to use his devil fruit power to take them out. And then Killer tells everyone to cover their ears, and it doesn't affect them. So Killer ends up explaining to us full-on confirmation of how Apu's devil fruit works. So we all know that Apu has kind of like instruments as part of his body and even morph them or something like that. To mimic some sort of instrument. So Killer pretty much this could just be him doing speculation, or he actually knows about Apu's devil fruit's weakness, and a kid probably never knew this, but saying that it's sound. It plays on sound. Whenever Apu uses his devil fruit, it requires sound to actually hit you. If you hear what he's doing, it is an unavoidable attack. You won't be able to block it, which explains how Luffy and Zoro managed to get hit so easily. So the fact that you need to hear Apu's music or sound waves from his devil fruit in order for it to hit you, that is a huge flaw. Because if you're far enough away, or if you're managing to cover your ears, Apu is basically useless. If you can keep your ears covered, you can take down Apu no problem. Because that seems to be his only real strength. Being able to use his sounds to majorly injure his opponents. And that is, this keeps Apu's devil fruit from being insanely OP. Because it's a very simple way of countering it, but it's also hard at the same time because you're going to need to use your ears so you can fight. Because you have to listen. You have to listen to the battlefield for anything coming your way. Not everyone has advanced observation haki, and you can't really hear everything unless you have really good instincts. But of course, as Kid is explaining all this, Luffy, Zoro, and Kid did not take their hands off their ears, and they're asking what he's saying. They're like, what? I love it when in tense situations, Oda just freaking sprinkles in the comedy, or just puts in so much comedy. But yeah. So as this is all going on, Queen is literally like, I thought everything was fine at Udon. What the hell? Everything was supposed to be fine. And one of the Beast Pirates basically like, look, I don't think we can take these guys alive. And he's like, you have permission to kill them. So Queen is pissed off. And he knows how much of a threat these guys are, because even though Kaido would want to have strong people on his crew, Queen knows from experience that Luffy isn't the kind of person to fall in line. So he's better off dead than a possible threat. We then cut to Who's Who as he has his own crew put together. He's being told by from what it seems like one of Kaido's secretaries, or yeah, I'm going with secretary, about the situation going on downstairs. So Who's Who actually managed to pick out Kid and Luffy as Udon escapees, like pretty much right off the bat. But when he's asked to help out in that situation with the crew, he's like, no. Our best option right now is to find Master Yamato. So he has more concern over finding Yamato, Kaido's son, and challenging one of the All-Stars over helping other members of the Beast Pirates. This actually goes pretty damn well with how this crew is operating, because there doesn't seem to be much control in this whole group of pirates. I mean, people kind of do it. I mean, yes, they do take orders, but everyone seems to be in it for themselves. So it's without members of the All Stars of Tobiropo and Kaido, I feel like without menacing forces like those in the crew, they would just end up freaking eating. They would just devour themselves from the inside and just perish. But even still, it's the formula for this crew to like implode from the inside. Too much chaos in a crew is bad. We know the Straw Hats aren't exactly the most like strategically planned crew or based off a command or anything. But these guys have trust in it. They're an ideal crew because they have trust in each other. And despite them throwing plans out the window and just going with the flow most of the time, they have each other's backs. They always have the crew in mind whenever they're doing something. That's a good contrast to how the Beast Pirates are like. So it could end up being like how the Rocks Pirates ended up getting disappeared because it was just a bunch of people in it for themselves and only joined Rocks just for the sheer, just I guess for the power or something or whatever. But anyway, outside of this, we get a nice scene with Big Mom talking to someone. We have no idea who it is. It could be one of Big Mom's, one of Kaido's pirates or something like that and everything. But they're like, they're gonna, like her ship is going to be arriving soon. But there's also no sign of her ship and her kids at the port. And Big Mom's like, port? But then we end up cutting back to Kinemon and the rest of Sanji, Nami, and Usopp and Chopper, along with Carrot and their group on the right side of the island. So from this chapter on, I honestly see us flipping back and forth between all the different groups. So anyway, once they reach halfway to their destination, they decide to split up their forces, so they can one could go all the way to the rear entrance, and the other can go in through the side, blend in with the enemy, and meet up for the attack on Kaido for a pincer attack, which is a very smart plan. So and right off the bat, halfway there, they decided to change up their plan a bit. And this honestly this will end up being a pretty good strategy, and I do see it working out well. So once they get to that area, it's mainly because they saw that it's different from the blueprints they managed to acquire. So it's a bridge, right? It's a bridge leading away. So they end up so Sanji ends up getting pulled to something called the Pleasure Hall, which with a name like that, it's a brothel, most likely pretty much a brothel, and apparently it is owned by Black Maria, the giant, the giant woman who is a member of the Tobiropo. And Sanji manages to go in, and Kinemon and Nami ends up volunteering that she, Carrot, and Shinobu will go along with him because Kinemon is worried about Momonosuke, and Nami's like, don't worry, we'll go with Sanji and we'll try and find Momonosuke. We know you're worried about him. So it's nice that Kinemon, despite all this is going on, he's still worried about Kinemon, and I love it because those two have been through a lot, and Kinemon's basically been like a surrogate father to the kid. And I do love how he acknowledges that he hasn't been in his right mind the whole time because he kept his mind kept wandering to what's going on with Momo. So I do like that. So as Nami's group splits off along with Sanji, most likely going through the Pleasure Hall, which, really quick note, which I do love Oda just explaining as part of like the narration. Luffy's scene earlier caused that brothel to be emptied out, and Sanji's expression when he came out was like, there are no women in there. We've basically seen him like the saddest and most disappointed he's ever been in at this point. From what I can tell, it's one of the saddest I've seen Sanji. So it was just hilarious. So anyway, as Kinemon's group along with Chopper and the Brachio tank move along the bridge, someone is opening a door nearby, so everyone jumps into the water, but Chopper can't because he's in the freaking tank, which is not going too fast. And the door's shades open up, and we see Big Mom. We see Big Mom's face and Chopper horrified. And that's how it ends. So we have no idea how this is going to pan out. Because we have freaking Big Mom discovering Chopper. Oh, man. Oh, man. I honestly want to see if this ends up putting a damper on their plans or anything. Because honestly, I don't even think Big Mom has any memories of what she did when she had amnesia. She could, she might not, but we don't know. I mean, Big Mom does kind of have like a very weird mental state, so for all we know, it could be another personality that comes up whenever she sees Chopper, and the plan will still go on without a hitch because the last thing they need is to get in front of and pissed off Big Mom. So that is something I am really, really looking forward to seeing a resolution to. Honestly, I can't wait to see what happens with that. And coming to a close from the chapter, the last couple of pages, we cut to the waterfall entrance to Wano, with Big Mom's crew in their galleon getting ready to climb the waterfall for the second time. And I love how Sparrow is being like, the last time we were here, King knocked us down. And I don't want to go through that again. And he's also being like, what is up with Big Mom lately? Because an alliance with Kaido is just sheer insanity. And I like that. Sparrow is questioning Big Mom's decision and her mental state with that remark, because honestly, they never had thought of doing a actual alliance with Kaido before, because it seemed impossible, because all the emperors are essentially at war with each other, trying to get their own territories, keeping their territories safe from other pirates and from trying to steal it, etc. They're some of the biggest powers in the world, and Big Mom and Kaido have two of the strongest and oldest pirate crews. So it makes sense for an alliance between them to not seemingly be possible. Smoothie is like, look, I don't care. Big Mom says it, we follow. Uh, and Daifuku and the rest of the crew basically mentioned that the main reason that they're even there is to find Luffy and take him out because he dishonored them. He ruined Big Mom's reputation and kind of screwed them all over, and pretty much made them a joke because he managed to get away from them in their own territory. Ruined the wedding between Sanji and Pudding. Managed to get away from Big Mom when she was at her most pissed off moment. And basically, essentially take down Katakuri. So it makes sense why they're pissed off. And at this moment, where Sparrow remembers how King just showed up and knocked them off the waterfall with ease, and he's worried of that happening again. And he then sees something flying in the air, and he's like, "Is that King?" We then cut to the next. We then cut back. Cut to his expression. He's like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!" It's Marco. Marco shows up at the waterfall like a freaking beast. I love it. His entrance is just as great as Jinbei's. Last minute save. He shows up. Oh my god. Once he shows up, he says a few things, being like, when this is all over, this generation will end up, the generation that we're currently in will end up changing again. So I'm curious what he means by that. Maybe the fact that by the time the Big Mom Pirates get up there, things will be too late, because Marco just straight up knocks down their ship from the waterfall in the same manner King did, and the reaction from the crew is hilarious because they're like, "Not again!" and they're falling down. This is one of the most epic and funniest scenes I've ever seen in One Piece. And there are so many scenes like that, and I love it. This chapter is full of hype and comedy that I really did love. But the hype doesn't end with just Marco showing up, because we see like small panels of Nekomamushi, Cat Viper, and Izo showing up along with them. So this is amazing, because Marco and Izo, well, Izo being someone from Wano originally, and Marco, one of Whitebeard's crewmates, who is a friend of Odin, showing up to help is something great, because we need to remember, when Nekomamushi went to see Marco and asked for his help, Marco was hesitant because, for one, he said that a lot of his fellow crew members were taken down when they went to take on Blackbeard. Not to mention, he was tasked with keeping Whitebeard's treasure, his hometown, safe. So, what could have caused him to leave? Did he actually decide that if it's possible that he just thought that if he if Oden had asked for help, if the others have asked for help, or if they decided to stay on Wano for a bit, they could have helped take down Kaido and Orochi, and Oden would still be alive. That's the biggest. That's something. But that's how the chapter ends. And this was a long one. Like I said, this was a freaking amazing chapter, and a lot happened, a lot to talk about. I'm not going to make it any longer. But anyway, sorry to keep you guys in this video for 20 plus minutes. But what did you guys think of this chapter? Was it great? Was it everything you wanted? What do you think is going to happen next? How do you think Marco is going to show up on Onigashima along with Izo and Nekomamushi? Who are they going to run into, and who are they going to team up with? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you like me doing these kind of types of videos. Also, one quick thing. I honestly really hope with all my heart, we get to see Marco and Luffy fighting side by side. That's something I really wanted to see. As well as the fact that I want to see more members of the Whitebeard Pirates there, because let's say Luffy's fleet doesn't show up. Having Marco and Izo there are two Yonko level crew members is a big deal. But if at least a few more members of Whitebeard's crew show up, we could actually see things tipping in their favor. I mean, look, Luffy's side, the Alliance, is pretty stacked right now. They got a lot of great members. They got Law, Kid, Luffy, Zoro, Killer, the whole of the Straw Hat crew, Kinemon, Denshiro, Inogarashi, now Marco, Izo, and Nekomamushi. Not to mention Jinbei's back. So they're pretty stacked on their side. I mean, will they be able to take down the Emperors? We have we don't know, because we also don't know how far Luffy went in his Ryo training. But yeah, with all that said and done, a great chapter. I can't wait for the next one. Which, by the way, after a month and a half of One Piece being bi-weekly, we're finally going back to a normal schedule for now, with the next chapter of One Piece 982 coming out next week. So be prepared, because I cannot wait. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you around.